Wenn beide Elemente Folk und Black Metal überlappen, dann ist Ufång am stärksten. Gefährlich ist hier vor allem das Heavy Riffing, das ordentlich Fleisch auf den Rippen zeigt. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Thunderdome Metal Reviews. I am Gabe Cooper, and I'm here with three gentlemen who will help me here in reviewing an album that is from the lovely country of Tyrol, that is Austria. With me is David Pizzo, Tracey Newport, and Ben Lindsay. How y'all doing tonight?
Man, don't give them their own country. You're going to start a war with Austria and Italy.
I was doing it on purpose, by the way.
I believe that, but man, you're trying to start some shit.
So
haven't enough blood been spilled over this place?
Not nearly.
As a non-German
it's
speaker,
been like 60 years. Come on, David.
as a non-German speaker, can you translate what you said for us?
So when both elements, folk and black metal, overlap, their Ufång is the strongest. And they quite like the heavy riffing, which shows meat on the bones.
Good old rip and
roughly. Yeah.
Are they talking about the Dulcimer riffing?
I don't know which player they're talking about here, but there's one person named Demore.
What
a good segue
of
the Amore.
Right, exactly. That would be the bassist.
Yeah. This was released on April 10th of last year in 2020. This is their debut album on Prophecy Productions, produced by Fabio Di Amore, runtime of 39 minutes and 7 seconds. The band itself is only two people. Perchta of the self-titled band who did the songwriting and the vocals, Fabio Di Amore, songwriting, lyrics, bass, vocals, keyboards, and programming. Then the rest of the band, air quotes, is additional musicians. Amy Sargoth on drums, Chris Hybrios on guitars, lead rhythm and acoustic, Teresa Wolfner on hammer, dulcimer, and zither. I don't know if I pronounced Wolfner correctly or not, but I'm sure I will. Yeah. This is a thing, Tracey. What do you think?
It's a thing.
It is a thing. So this happened. I picked this right after we got done doing the Apocalyptian Writers hour 40-minute jerk fest of just picking the best stuff they did in the jam session. Thought it was good enough for an album, and I was like, I know something similar, but I think it's better.
Yeah, narrator. It wasn't.
What?
It wasn't good enough for an album. I'm sorry, I can't get over her.
Oh yeah. Or they were contractually obligated to release an
album. This is better than that.
It is better than that.
This is better than that.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that too.
And I kept trying to think of that. So I was listening to it Sunday. I kept thinking, man, I need to get. No, I don't know if I can listen to this album 6 times this week and be happy with myself.
Actually, I didn't hate it. Part of it is because it is relatively short. And the sometimes the incorporation of the folk and black metal elements don't go well together, but I thought they did a pretty good job. And also this is something we don't always talk about, but this has a high curb appeal. Because if I walked through a record store, back when that was a thing, and saw this album cover, I would be intrigued enough to give it a listen.
It's a cool cover. I'll give it that.
Yeah. I have a feeling from listening to it, just because there was a lot of little interludes where she would just be talking and not really necessarily singing, that there was a message behind this, which, as somebody who doesn't understand German hardly at all, if I could even say that much, I went over me, so I had to rely really musically on this. But I did like the melodies. I liked the incorporation of the different instruments that are not always in metal, and that's something that I'm very hit or miss on, as people who listen to our reviews will know. But I thought they did a pretty decent job.
Yeah, I kind of like hammer dulcimer as a sort of sound. I just feel like there wasn't enough of it on here. And by enough of it, I mean enough of music on here. It was a lot of just like atmosphere. And yeah, if you don't speak German and if you don't understand Tyrolean dialect, then you're totally SOL here. And also, if you're looking for straight up folk metal, you are totally SOL. So that's maybe something that one should know going into this if you're going to go into this. But if you are, up for like a trip that is a lot about ambiance and creating that ambiance and maintaining it, and recorder and like water sounds, then hey, Bob's your uncle. It's right here.
I mean, if you want to know what you would be listening to in like the dentist's office that Krampus would go to, like this is that, right? It's like relaxing, but occasionally children are being shoved in fucking baskets. Essentially, it's the vibe I get from this album, which is mythology from this area. I know these guys.
It's creepy, man. It's creepy.
It's super creepy. No, it's Krampus grade, or Krampus adjacent at least. And Gabe, you mentioned they're into this whole sort of idea of high mod and defending their dialect and their folk culture. Like they perform in folk costume, and I'm very familiar with that impulse and desire in an American context from my Polish American relatives who were like that was their world, that was their everything. Polish dance, Polish music, we got to preserve Poland. And that was very much a diasporic thing, whereas this is sort of like a globalization's destroying everything. But this area is also a shatter zone where two cultures meet, and hundreds of thousands of bodies fucking were buried in the earth over this bullshit, over this place. This is one of those, like Belgium, what I'm called disputed zones between the Italian world and the German speaking world, that it's a hot mess. I don't know. It's atmospheric and cool, but yeah, if you were like, I want some folk metal, this isn't that. There's not much music here. I just use it as like atmospheric creepy shit while I was like answering emails and grading, and it works great. That was for office times. Tracey, this album was ready to go. So I actually listened to this album a lot this week. I just put it on repeat, and it would just go. You sort of couldn't tell when it started and stopped either. By the way, I don't know if that's good or bad, because it just kind of keeps going like a white noise generator made with whispers of Krampus. I don't know. It picks up. It strikes.
That's a good description. That's a good description.
That's what it is, right? And it picks up occasionally. Suddenly, ooh, it's happening. You're like, oh shit, and then it goes away again, and then it's back to Krampus whispering. Even if you understand German, y'all, this was a hard road to hoe. I was like, fuck. Like I would get, some words, but I read reviews by Austrians who couldn't understand it. It's just so different.
I mean, I'm sorry, Tracey. I completely agree on the atmospherics. This is something that I have not said about an album in a long time, I don't think, but this is one of those dinner party albums. You just kind of put it on as background music because it's relatively inoffensive, and you might start up an interesting conversation when somebody comments on it, but not being able to understand it would make that a little less likely. But for like a Halloween party or some bullshit, definitely.
I mean, I would definitely put this on before I would put on, say, Altars of Madness at a light cocktail hour, so I could understand. Right, like it's not the energy, what necessarily. I mean, a
light cocktail hour.
Light cocktail hour brought to you by Morbid Angel, and
followed by heavy cocktail hour.
When it's just black metal, like the next step.
I thought you were talking about the amount of booze in the drinks or something like
Both.
that.
No, we escalate in all ways, Gabe. Auditorial, in terms of auditory space and alcohol content.
Everything has its Ordnung, apparently.
But the end is just Everclear and like just Germans throwing metal down the stairs. Like that's the recording.
Sounds like a party I've been to.
Right, with the Me Too in Berlin twice. Yeah, the mic is in the trash can as it rolls down the stairs, and that's the track. And you're drinking absinthe and Everclear, just pure Everclear. But we're not at that party. We're at this party where we are sipping some nice Tyrolean, I don't know what the fuck they drink, honey mead, mountain shit. It's just, I don't think there's wine up there, but the blood of Italians. whatever. Krampus juice. It's
whatever gets you high, man, right?
Whatever gets you high, man, exactly. Pagan juice. Anyway, it's a cool idea. It's a cool concept. If you want a taste of a recreated folk imaginary, because I'm not going to say that this is actual ethnography. Anyway, this is a way to get it and also entertain your guests and just blow up this cover art and then have a seance or whatever you need to do.
So what are your thoughts, Tracey?
Well, I was going to say, whenever coming from Apocalypse Writer, in my head, a couple songs are sticking out in my mind when I was listening to this, when I was comparing them in my head before I picked it. And I was like, okay, I forgot how much on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off. Again, this album is. And that was part of it. So it was like, man, this is an album I could listen to once a month, once occasional kind of thing, and it wouldn't bother me. But an album to listen to 4 or 5 times in a week, it's missing a lot from that aspect to really kind of carry it through multiple listens. Because especially when you don't understand the language, and just kind of like, oh, I guess they're just bitching about something for 2.5 minutes, and next song.
There's all the earth and shit, and the Earth Mother, and pollution, like corruption. I don't. It's I could get. It's pagan shit, right? I mean, is that what you were getting, Gabe, from these songs? I mean,
I mean, that's sort of the vibe that I got. I can't say that I really understood it, and I don't know. I feel like if the music had drawn me in a little bit more, I would have been more tempted to kind of try to figure it out. And now I think that I'm thinking about it, I'm getting a better sense of why Tracey saw a parallel between this and Die Apokalyptischen Reiter, because they both have kind of a trance like state to them. Do you know what I mean? Like, and Die Apokalyptischen Reiter was leaning a lot more heavily on like tribal stuff to do that, like tribal rhythms and like sort of non like Germanic stuff to do that.
I think what you want is
like,
Orientalism. Yeah.
Right. Like a hard, that's like a hard lean into Orientalism, whereas this is a hard lean into fucking Heimat, and like
it is.
Who asked for that? I don't know.
Who is Tyrolean? Yeah, like no one, colon.
Well, yeah.
And then Perchta, this album.
But then you have to ask yourself, like, I mean, Die Apokalyptischen Reiter must have known that they were being totally self-indulgent, and that only fans were going to buy that, that record that they made. Whereas like I'm having a hard time finding out like who is the audience for this record,
Whoever will listen to it, and to give you.
I do agree with you that like Die Apokalyptischen Reiter was being like way super indulgent, because they basically recorded their fucking band practice, including like them like tuning up and then playing around with tribal rhythms and all this other stuff. And maybe that's an unfair characterization of them as a band, but whatever. That's the impression I got. Whereas this, I felt was a much more concise. It helps that it's like less than half the length of Die Apokalyptischen Reiter. But I did feel that there was a concept in action with this one, whereas the other one was just an action without concept that then they later said was a concept.
Agreed.
Anyway, so let's talk about songs.
Well, I was going to bring up a comment about, targeted audience. Looking at Spotify now, it's listing Perchta as having 130 monthly listeners.
Well, that's not a whole lot.
Yeah, which I think we probably doubled it this week.
Yeah. But I mean, they're also a new band. So I mean, it's kind of hard to say.
A new band has a very specific target audience.
I think there's a much bigger audience for this in Europe, for one thing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a whole universe of, if not this exactly, just folky, self-indulgent, like slightly reactionary metal. I mean, that's like a vast world in Scandinavia, Eastern Europe, etc., etc. Lungs, autumn. Yeah,
I'll take your word for it.
It's a thing. No, it's 100% a thing, and sometimes it even gets into shades of the really messed up shit. Like I don't know. I'm not imputing these people as National Socialists, but some of them are in that universe too. In Scandinavia,
they do use a lot of folk metal and traditional bullshit.
Yes, and I'm not saying this is that,
right.
but
No,
it's the same universe, unfortunately.
Right.
Wasser's Wasser, Autumn's Breeze, just like German. Like I can catch a lot of this, and as you say, Gabe, you can interpret the titles, but still, it's all still just atmospheric. Like I don't think the lyrics matter that much on this album.
That's what I was going to say, man. There's not a track on here that I would pull off for anything. If I was going to listen to this, I would just listen to the entire thing.
Yeah,
I pulled 2 off here, and it was Erden and Autumn.
Earth and Breathe, which is air for air. Nah. Yeah, none of them are bad. None of them are good. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just it's a soundscape for an
Yeah,
album.
totally.
That's it.
It's-
Right? It's a
I've-
soundscape, and I listened to it a bunch of times this week, and it was perfectly fine. But I would not pull one song off here for anything or any reason. I can't think when I would possibly use that tool. I might to play the whole album. Now I kind of want to use it at a dinner party. Like you got me thinking, Ben.
I actually would do that, but I mean, or like listen to it as a white noise thing to go to sleep.
Yeah,
to.
exactly. Krampus white noise.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not going on my playlist. And I sure as shit I'm not working out to this. Like it's just not a thing. Like I would just stand there and just think about the sadness of the destruction of mountain culture. I don't know.
I could work out to it, but I can work out to anything. But
I can't.
Your next German history class, you should do a specific section over Tyrol and use a song off this album as an example of
I talked to the shit out
culture
of
and
it.
music.
I talked about it a ton this semester in modern Italy, because for them it's this fetish object. No, it is a chew toy of empires and desires and Krampus. So, what are your favorite songs, Tracy? All?
No, like Erden and Autumn.
Oh yeah, you said just the two.
Mhm.
what about you, Gabe?
Yeah.
I liked Erden and Glut, which is Glut in German.
Yeah,
but,
fire.
Yeah. But it was like, yeah, Glut is like the folk metaliest track on the
yeah.
on the record with like blast beats at the very end. So yeah, I have to say though, even though they had the guy playing the hammered dulcimer, it wasn't really enough. Could have been more.
Yeah, I could have used a little bit more dulcimer on this too.
Just more period. I mean, it's sometimes we argue about what's an intro or not. This is 10 tracks of intro. Right? Like
No,
it's
like mostly
That's not an
interlude,
unfair
David.
characterization. No.
It's mostly interlude, David.
No, you're right. It's even more interlude. Touche, salesman. 10 tracks of interlude. Like this is the stuff that would go between black metal songs, but here it's the album. So
Maybe that's their entire thing. They're trying to pitch themselves as the interlude
Dude,
writers for an entire generation of black metal people.
when I open my Alpine themed mac and cheese food truck, I will make extensive. There was a Tyrolean restaurant in the neighborhood. We stayed at in Berlin, and it was just like, you want some fucking cheese and some sweet shit here, asshole. So, or Krampus. So, I guess we got to grade this mofo.
I do.
Starting with Herr Newport.
I'm gonna give it a B minus. I think it's a solid album. It's an album I enjoy to listen to, but it's not an album I want to listen to multiple times in a short period again.
This is an incredibly difficult album to grade.
Amen.
And I guess maybe just to be a follower, I'm going to kind of come in at a B minus with Tracey, because there are no tracks that would stand out. This is not something that I would want to listen to all the time, but it's also not something that I would be mad if it was on someplace and I walked in. So, it's solid. It's what music is there is fairly well played. They did a great job with atmospherics, but it's like listening to a 39-minute long commercial and not understand what they're trying to sell you. But I guess that's still a B minus.
I'm laughing so hard, just picturing just anywhere you walk into, this is playing, like an urban outfitters or like an American Eagle clothing store, and this is just playing. Ooh, and the dulcimer's going. And Ben's like, I would not be offended were I to hear that in a place I entered. I'm sorry.
I wouldn't be. It'd be weird, but I wouldn't be offended by it. I was like, this is an interesting choice.
I agonized over this grade too for the same reasons you did, and even though I'm going to sound like a punk follower, I decided B minus. Like it's just I can't really critique it for anything exactly, but it's it is sort of metal's answer to white noise. I don't know. It's but I'm going to give it a B minus because it's interesting, and what is played well. And I certainly liked it more than Die Apokalyptischen Reiter.
I have to say I'm disappointed in all of you, and I'm also disappointed in this album because it's such a missed opportunity. Like they have such a cool idea, and they have such an amazing kind of imaginary space that they're trying to work with, and they have folk instruments that they're trying to work with, but they do so little with it. There's like so little music on this, and it's just all filler. So this is a D. It's all filler, no killer.
I can see that. I wavered between that and like this genius I don't recognize.
I mean, I honestly thought about just not giving it a grade.
Me too, dude.
I don't think I would have let that slide, or Tracy.
Yeah, I
either.
was like, God, I guess I'm gonna have to.
So what you guys have told me in the grading of this is pick such obscure shit that you guys can't grade it. That you're, I don't know what to do with it. I guess I'm being fine. Just
well, I'm trying to respect
Stop the madness.
The idea is so cool, and
Yeah,
I like
that
the
was kinda where I was
atmosphere it
at, too.
creates. I enjoyed listening to it, and so I gave it a better grade than I deny nothing of what Gabe said. He's absolutely right. Like this could have been a barn burner.
No, I
And-
completely agree with everything Gabe said as well. But I mean, I was just like, the atmospheric of it is cool enough that
that's what I
you
thought.
get by on the moxie of it, if nothing else.
I mean,
If
Ben,
they're-
if I walk into a place and this is playing, I'm not going to be displeased about it.
if they remove those every other track where she's just talking with a little bit dulcimer behind her, if they remove that and make an album of field music, I think it'd be.
Or go
Well, they
the other
could've
way
done-
and just do spoken word with dulcimer underneath it. I'd
Right.
be fine with that too.
Yeah. They do an EP with like the actual music compositions, and then an album with like the white noise-esque like water noise. They would make a ton of money off of that. I tell you.
I think so. Yeah.
We all short
With
circuited
the whispering alone, I would say.
Amazing. I don't know why we all just went to B minus, because I was just like, well,
Because
I
it's
don't think
not
I-
inherently a bad album. But
it
it's
isn't a
not-
bad album.
I
It's
mean,
not bad, but it could have been so much better.
Could have been.
it definitely could have been better. It also has some of the stuff we've listened to in the last year, so does it could have been a lot worse. So I guess I was just like, no.
Me
And also,
too.
I gave it didn't drag on forever, because if it had been a whole lot longer, then yeah.
If
I
it had
agree.
been an
Just-
hour and a half, I don't think I would have picked it.
There's shit that we've listened to that out of mercy have put in the C range that I liked a lot less than this. So I sort of boxed myself in a little bit. As I've told you, some of those I would grade lower now, and others higher.
No mercy, no
I'm
mercy.
going back
Dave.
to
No
look
mercy.
at David's grades for the C's. Like, who guess he gave that?
Mercy
Well,
C.
My
Don't do that.
average is going to be so low by the end of this.
I hope
I
so.
tell you what.
You were sent by the dean to reduce grade inflation
That's
in the
true.
department,
Yes.
right? Like,
I can only do so much, so I need your help, Gabe.
Well, currently, Gabe, you are not the grade D inflator or deflator. Ben is still the grade deflator. You did not usurp him from that throne.
because Ben will just straight up. He is unlike Fox. He has plenty of F's left to give.
Yeah, I got a box of them over here. Though, just waiting for more crazy shit to add to.
I've been. Oh my god! I just said that line to Robin. I'm like, Fox. That became my grading mantra this week. Legend. I have plenty of F's left to give.
Indeed, indeed. So what are we doing next time, Tracy?
What indeed?
Next, we are looking at everybody's favorite debut album in Five Finger Death Punch's The Way of the Fist.
God, that just
That album cover.
fucking four logo.
Speak for yourself, Tracy. Speak for yourself.
Vegas is coming to town, y'all. It's time,
It
for some,
is.
it's time for some butt metal. It's long overdue. We've been threatening a butt metal review for many eons, many moons.
We have.
So.
Now you're actually going to get to know what we mean by the term. Onto the dough metal.
So join us next time